This is version 1 of Prosper Sustainably's ETEP training video on printing an ETEP Strategic Work Plan. This ETEP Strategic Work Plan is designed in Microsoft Office Excel 2013, and the instructions for using different versions of Excel may vary. An ETEP Strategic Work Plan is a Tribal Environmental Plan, or TEP. An ETEP Strategic Work Plan, or TEP, is a major component of an EPA-Tribal Environmental Plan. However, keep in mind that a full ETEP will include other components which can be further explained by your GAP grant project officer. During this training, I will cover how to print an ETEP document into a readable, printable format. Okay, so we're starting on the main page of really the body of the strategic work plan itself. This tab right here, the ETEP Strategic Work Plan tab, and for this training video, for this example, we're going to assume that you want to be able to print out different versions, or you want to be able to print out each priority program area separately, provided to your tribal council, to your project officer. Basically, they want it in a printable format that they can show others and read it rather than pulling it up on Excel. One thing you may want to do first of all is you may want to hide certain rows. So let's say you don't necessarily want to show these tables. What you can do is you can highlight those tables by clicking here. You hold Shift, then you click the second one, and it highlights all of them. And you can right click on those and then scroll down to hide, and then that will go away, so you don't have to show the instructions or the detailed explanation when you're printing it for somebody else. So in this case, we're going to focus on the climate change area. So let's say, in this same process can be repeated for each area, so you can show each one separately. So we're going to filter out all the, and this is shown in more detail in another video, we're going to filter out everything else except for the climate change objectives and goals and description. So we do that for all 4 tables. Let's go down to the bottom and do it for this as well. So you're showing the full ETEP Strategic Work Plan just for climate change. So let's go back to the top. And so in this, you can see that if you look closely, you can see, and let me zoom in a little further. There's a dotted line right here between columns A and columns B. So one thing that I did is I went to page layout and I activated the grid lines for printing. So if you undo those, then they stay, but so you can undo. But once you activate them, they end up staying. And you can see, based on the print setup that you have, where the pages will break up. So in this case, we have a page break that's occurring right between A and B, which is an issue because that means that this column is going to print separately from that column. So we want this to print where you can see it as it is right here. We just want to focus on the key information. We're not going to print out all the details. So when you go down to the objectives, when we're showing it to somebody like our project officer or somebody else, maybe we only want to show, let's say it's going to a tribal council. Or let's say it's going to the EPA and you want to provide the essential information for each area. So you actually need to show the capacity indicator number and the role as well. So we want to include columns A through D, and then we want to show all 4 tables when it's printed out. So first of all, right now the orientation of the page is in portrait, meaning it's the long part is going from top to bottom. So we want to change that. Go to page layout and go to from portrait to landscape, So now you see that there is no longer a dotted line between uh, columns A and B. The problem is, though, now the capacity indicator numbers are being chopped off, and so is the roll. So we want the dotted line to, we can shrink it down a little bit. We want the dotted line to be between columns D and columns E. So in this case, um, we could adjust the margins, but I don't think that'll help enough, and it makes it more complicated than it needs to be. You can just shrink down the size of one of the columns so that it'll allow the information to show up. So in this case, column B is pretty wide. So if you click up here at the very top between columns B and C, if you click on the line, then you'll see this black line with arrows going on both sides. Once that shows up, left click and hold it down and then scroll it to the left. And you can let go and see where it shows up. And so in this case, it does, we wanted it to be between columns D and E, so that's where it does show up. And you can kind of adjust a little bit to get the maximum that you can, so that's too much. That's just right. If you kept scrolling to the left more, you'd lose more area for these, but um, you could show more columns as well. But this is really, this stuff is just beyond column D is just management information for operations management, strategy management, and it's not necessary to be printed. So we now have it to be the right size to be printed. So now there's two ways to print this out. The preferred method is actually to copy and paste this information into a Word document. That'll avoid a little problem that occurs when you try to print things sometimes in Excel, which what happens sometimes is that parts of rows can be partially obscured. So you go to print, and then so I just obscured part of row 39, and in some cases, like this will happen on printout, where you'll only be able to see half of the line. So, and a moment ago it was actually only showing 2 lines. So it's supposed to, there's ways to get these things to automatically adjust their size, but it doesn't always work properly. And so it can be frustrating. It's just a little bit of a Microsoft Excel bug. Well, I wouldn't say a bug. It's just something they haven't addressed within the programming itself fully. So that's why printing out in Word is the best. So I'm going to open a Word document right now, a blank one. And then first thing I'm going to do in this Word document is I'm going to make it the same orientation as the Excel document. So you go to Page Layout, Orientation, and then you click on Landscape. So now the long part is going from side to side rather than top to bottom. If you want, you can change the margins as well to make them a little more narrow to give you a little more room. So by default, there's 1-inch margins. It can be beneficial to have, a little wider margins because I think Excel documents tend to have 0.75 as their side margins. So go back to the ETEP Strategic Work Plan, and as you can see under the margins, they're from left to right is 0.7 to 0.7. So we just don't want things to get cut off in the Word document. So you go back to the ETEP Strategic Work Plan, and you highlight the information that you want to copy, all of it at once. So in this case, we want everything all the way over to column D. So we'll click in this upper left click in A1 right here, and you can hold Shift and then go over to D and click. Now you can let go of Shift and then scroll down. So you can scroll down either by using your mouse wheel, or you can go over here, drag that down. You can hit down, use a down arrow. You can use page down. Basically, you just want to make sure that you're not going to unclick this highlighted area. So you get this to click right there, and then you want to get to the bottom of the document. So I'll take this and I'll drag this all the way down, not the very bottom, but basically the bottom of the information that I want. So we have it highlighted over to D right now. We want to include the very bottom of this. So now we have all the information that we want in this document highlighted. So there's various ways you can copy this information. You can Control C, you can right click and go to copy right here. You can go to home and then go to copy right here. I like the shortcuts, so I hit Control C. So now this information is copied. So I go back into my Word document and I hit paste. So now this information now is entirely within my Word document in a very manageable format. So, you know, from here you can either print this out and hand it to somebody, or you could just forward them along the Word document. And that just depends what you're trying to accomplish. If it's somebody who wants the ability to print it, they can just print it on their own. The beauty of having in a Word document too is you can use track changes, which are not an option within Excel. So if you want somebody to review this and provide feedback and make changes, you can activate track changes in this, and then now when somebody and then you have them make their edits while track changes are enabled. And let's say they see that you misspelled something, or they want they want to add a word, so they want to mitigate. Let's just say they want to add energy in here. But basically, they want to delete stuff, they want to add stuff. They don't, they don't think this objective makes sense for this year, so they think this should be done in 2017. Or they think that this one doesn't make sense to do at all, so they're going to say, I think we should delete that one. Then you can see the changes they made, and you could go back and adjust that. So from here, you could print this document, and okay, so I think we may have an issue here. So it's in landscape orientation. It's going to print it, and let's see, let's go down to print preview. So the concern here is that it's off the side of the sheet. Oh no, it's not off the side of the sheet. I'm sorry. It just has the column, the comment bar shown up. So in this case, we just would let's just undo these edits to it. So that was printing it with the comment bar on the side. In this case, there's no let's remove the comments. There's no comment bar. Let's go back to print. And then you can see in the preview right here that the full thing is included and that it's a couple pages long. So in this case, it's a 4-page document just focused on the climate change priority program area, and this can be distributed among your project officer, among tribal council, and you just select your printer. You could save it as a PDF if you wanted, manage that however you want. So, and then you'd want to save this document. So let's see, let's just save it. Save it wherever you're going to save it. So this is going to be your ETEP Strategic Work Plan, and then let's say it's just the climate change area. So the only thing you do is do one for each. So each manageable documents, and you can filter all the other stuff out before too, and so when you filter those, you can copy and paste what's been filtered. So now this has been saved, and that's one way to do it. Another way is I mentioned you can print it out straight from this document. The only issue is that sometimes things get cut off. So what I would do to make sure things don't get cut off is I would preset the columns, how wide they are, or sorry, the rows. And you can select each row you want to preset and then go row height. And then if you want to do 3, maybe 45 might be a good one, just to make sure that you're going to not cut off any information. So you go through all these and you make the same row height. In this instance, you do whatever makes sense for you. In this case, I'm doing 45 just to make sure it shows up to 3 lines of text. Again, 45. In this case, it's not going to be cut off. So then I would select the same, just like before, I would select the same information. So I already selected down right there. And then once it's selected, I go to File, I go to, yeah, File, I go to Print, and then I'm going to select Print Selection. So go under Settings and go to Print Selection. And therefore, it's only going to print the selection. It's showing the grid lines. You could go turn those off if you want. But it's printing out exactly what was printed out in the other document. It's showing more spacing than you would get in the Word document, because the Word document's not going to hide any of the information. So one thing, if you notice right here, you'll see that the capacity indicator numbers are being chopped off. So if that's essential to show, as of right now, these are not being wrapped. So if you want to make sure it shows all those, you can click on this particular column, and then you can go under Home, you go to Wrap Text, and then it'll make sure that it wraps it around so you can see all of the data within it. And then you can go back up here and then select the area that you want to print again. Another way you can do it, I believe, is, well, I guess you can't right click to do it. So go back to File, go to Print, go Print Selection again, and then you can see here now it does show the full capacity indicator numbers with each line, and it's all on 4 pages. If you didn't like the grid lines, you can go back to Page Layout, unclick grid lines. If you want it to look cleaner, maybe I go to View. Anyways, that's not really as important as everything else. So you would just, you're under Print, and you just select the printer you want to use, and then it prints out just 4 pages that are manageable. But I think the Word method is preferable. It's more manageable to do. That is the end of this training video.